Hello, all of my crafty friends. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Welcome all of you to Pretty Pink Craft Room. I'm excited to be here for another crafting session with you where we will create something simple, quick, and easy. That has sort of been my go-to projects lately. Quick and easy projects that I can do in maybe 30 minutes or less and even create more than one at the same time. So that's what I've been focusing on lately, and this is the latest one I've come up with. This is just an accordion pocket mini album, and it measures 5.5 by 5. This is the cover, and I used Mente Papers, See You in Paris, for the decoration. And as you can see, I used their cut-aparts, I used their paper, their ephemera, all of that to make the decoration on the front. The spine is only 3/4 of an inch, not too big, but I will give you an option, or if you want to choose something different, I'll give you that option as we go along with the tutorial. And then when you open it inside, it is simply accordion pockets on both sides. So it is pockets here, and inside there are these cards where you can either add photos or you can journal, whichever you choose, and each pocket has its own card inside. And then there's the top one with its card. And then at the very back is a large tag that I just used some tulle to tie as a bow on it. And then it does the exact same thing on the right side with the cards. And of course they each have their own pull tabs to make it easy to pull them out. And then lastly is another tag. So simple, quick, easy project. I seriously think, you guys, we can make this in 30 minutes or maybe even less. So we will try and shoot for that. But if this is something that you are interested in creating, I hope you will stick around and craft with me. To create the base of the project, I have taken a sheet that is measured at 6.5 by 11 3/4. Now, if you want your spine to be a full 1 inch, then you don't have to make this 11 3/4. You can keep it at the 12, and then you can make the 1 inch spine in the middle. I just kept mine at 3/4 of an inch. Again, I was making something small, petite, so that's why I did it as those measurements. So I will show you how I did it when I was creating the project. So again, this is 11 3/4 by 6.5. I scored 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. And then when you bring it back to the 11 3/4 sides, you want to also score at 5.5 and 6 1/4. Again, 5.5 and 6 1/4. So now the next thing is you want to make sure you cut out these triangles on the spine so that the spine can lay down flat without any resistance on those score lines, and no buckling. So you can see me just cutting out just those little triangles on either side of the score line. And so when you finish, it should look like so on your spine. And then of course on the edges, you want to miter your edges. I said edges, but I meant to say corners. I apologize. Miter your corners. Okay, so all of that is pretty much done. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so all that's going to happen now is I'm going to fold these edges and glue them down. So I'll just finish gluing down these edges here. The middle little flap here. And this is a good technique that I picked up for helping to, it's not my idea, of course. It's a good technique for protecting your edges, especially if you are not using chipboard. then it can protect the edges from fraying or from developing those dog ears or bending or something to that effect. So covering it over on the edges really does help it quite a bit. So it's a really good tactic. Okay, so our cover is completely done, and I do have a little overhang here, so I'm just gonna cut that off. I think I'm good everywhere else. So this is, excuse me, this is pretty much our cover. It's 5 inches on each side and a 3/4 inch spine in the middle. So let's now cover this inside of the cover. With this project, I tried to do something a little bit different. I wanted to challenge myself to use papers I wouldn't normally use. These are papers that were in my stash. They've been in my stash for quite a bit of time because I just didn't know how I wanted to use them. So I brought them out, and I'm going to use them for this project. And you guys can tell me in the comments if you think it all came together pretty seamlessly, or you think it came together okay. But I would challenge you for a project like this to try to do the same thing. If you have that paper stash that you wouldn't normally use, to just bring it out and use it in this type of a project and just see how it turns out for you. Maybe you might enjoy how it all comes together. So this paper I'm going to use to cover the inside of the base, and this paper actually measures 5 3/8 by 10 5/8. So I just came in like 1/8 of an inch from the cover so that I can cover the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my, actually I'm going to take the backing off here because I want to add some glue. This paper is kind of like a it's not, I wouldn't say it's actually glossy paper, but it's not the matte paper that you would normally expect. So again, I think that was another one of the reasons as to why I didn't quite know. It's beautiful paper. It's beautiful retro paper style, but again, I was just stumped as to how I wanted to use it, and so I think that was another reason why I kept putting it off and just kept it in my paper stash, because I just simply didn't know what I wanted to do. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to add it here before I take off the tape in the middle. I'm just trying to make sure I get things even, because you guys know me, I am always very cricket on things. Oh, sorry, I hit the camera there. But okay, I think that's pretty good. So I can take off the tape in the middle. Yeah, so the previous album was just, paper I got from Mente Paper. So that was, pretty easy to put together and everything. But when I was making it, when I decided I was going to film a video and make another one, I said, well, let's try to challenge and see how it would be if you just use these papers that you typically would not use, or maybe that you did not know how you wanted to use. So I just want to make sure it seals down pretty good here. So I'm just massaging the papers gently to try to get them used to folding for that spine, so that they don't crack. Just taking my time with it and folding it. And then once I'm pretty sure I can press a little bit harder, but just working it, massaging it a little bit at a time. Okay. So now that we have our base and our inside covered, now we can go ahead and move on to the accordion pockets. And I'm sorry, I keep hitting that camera with things. I apologize. Okay. Just wanted to take off some overhang. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and work on the inside, which is our actual accordion pockets. So behind the accordion pockets, there is this larger pocket, and this is what I'm going to use for that. This is obviously the cover of the paper pack, and I'm going to use it because most of it is not going to be seen. You're only going to see the top edge here, and I kind of liked how this has a variety of different things, different patterns. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and see how it turns out. So these are two sheets that measure 5 1/4 by 4 1/4, 5 1/4 by 4 1/4, and on the 5 1/4 side, I am going to go ahead and score at 1/2 inch, and then 4 3/4, and I will do that for both of them, 1/2 inch and 4 3/4. And then I'm just going to fold these sides down because this will again be my pocket. I'm just going to miter the top edge here. Don't want to cut too much into that pocket. That was probably a bad cut, but hopefully it'll still turn out okay. Okay, so both of my back pockets are done. So now we can actually move on to the actual accordions. So for the accordion pockets, I needed 4 sheets, and they measure each the same thing. So that again makes it super simple and easy to put together. So I needed 4 sheets that measure 3 1/4 by 9. So I have them here. Again, 4 sheets, and they each measure 3 1/4 by 9. And you're going to score them exactly the same way, each one of them. You're going to score at 2 1/8, 2 1/8, and then you're also going to score at 6 3/8. So 2 1/8, 6 3/8, and that's for all 4. Then you can fold these under. Like so. So the way you're going to glue them together, and I'll do a couple on camera and then I'll just do the rest, and then we'll come back and assemble everything. So the way you're going to put this together is you folded them under. There's a shorter flap and a longer flap. The shorter flap, you're only going to glue at the bottom, like so. The longer flap, you're going to do an L glue. So you're going to apply glue on the edge here and at the bottom. Then you put it together, put the shorter flap down first, and then the longer flap on top, and it will create a pocket that is sealed for you. And you have an opening at the top. So I'll go do that again. Okay. So again, you have this sheet that you folded over. For the short flap, you're only applying glue at the bottom. For the larger flap, you're going to apply glue on one side and at the bottom. And then you apply that on top of the shorter flap. And now you have your pocket with your opening at the top. So I'm going to do the rest of those, and then we'll be back to assemble it all together. I've glued all my pockets down. I've put them in the order that I want them to appear in the album. And the one thing I would caution you is to make sure that your opening is on the top. I have gone to glue things down and found out that my opening was not at the top, and then I had to pull it apart. So just a tip there, a word of caution. So remember that this was our big pocket that we were going to put at the back. So I'm going to bring this back out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from the top 3/8 of an inch and make myself a line so that I can line up my pockets the way I want them to appear. So my first pocket is going to be right there at that 3/8 of an inch. So I am just going to apply glue down the center, and I'm just eyeballing it. Of course, you can certainly measure it to make it more precise, but I am just going to go ahead and eyeball it and then apply it to the base here. And my primary thing that I'm trying to do is, of course, make everything even, especially on the sides. Everything should line up on the sides evenly. And I'm just going to crease that down. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my next pocket. So I'm going to make myself a line. I'm going to come down 3/8 of an inch, make myself a little line there so that I know where to line it up at. Make sure I have the top here, and then I will apply glue down the middle. And line it up like so. Okay, then I'll take my next one and I will do the exact same thing. Oh, let me go ahead and make my line so that I can make sure I'm even. Again, coming down 3/8 of an inch from the top. Make a little line for myself. Now I'm ready to glue it down. Make sure my opening is at the top. And there we go. So can you guys already see that these are papers that you don't normally see me using? Again, you can see why I had such a challenge and a struggle in trying to determine how did I want to use this paper. So this was my challenge for the day. And I'm hoping that, you know, it produces good results, because no one wants to keep, oop, that does not seem like 3/8 of an inch. No one wants to keep paper hanging around for forever. They want to actually use what they purchased, and so that's what I wanted to do too. Okay, and then line this up with the right mark line, like so. And I can erase that line later. Just want to make sure everything is even. Okay, now once you have your pockets all glued down together, you will have overhang at the bottom here. That is what you want, and you will have this overhang on the side. That again is what you want as well, because all of that will help secure your pockets to your base. So I'm just giving this glue a little bit more time, and I can go ahead and erase this mark here. Okay. So now we're going to bring back in our base, and you can line this up as to wherever you feel like you want to have your pockets lined up. I kind of like it with a little bit at the bottom, a little bit at the top, and I'm going to measure that at maybe 1/2 an inch. Yes, 1/2 an inch from the top, and then centered on the page. So I'm going to apply glue here, here, and at the very bottom edge here. That will allow the pocket to secure onto the base there. So I'll add the glue. Okay, and again, I'm going to try to center this and come down about 1/2 an inch as well. I think the first one is easy. The trick is making the second one be exactly like the first. That's the tricky part. Okay, and I think I'm pretty even. Let me just make sure. I have to do a double check to make sure. Okay, so that is down like so. Okay, so now you see your pockets are all accordion-like, and then you have a larger pocket at the back there for the tag. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here, and then I will be back and we will finish working on the rest of this album. And this is the final product. And so fully decorated. I took some time, paused the video, decorated it using that paper pad that I previously talked about in the beginning of the video. And I'm actually pretty pleased with how it turned out. I stepped outside of my comfort zone and used some papers that I wouldn't normally use, some paper designs that I wouldn't normally use, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I used a die from Scrap Diva Designs here as the focal piece, and then cuts the center part of the circle using the paper that was part of the paper pack. I used some flowers that were in my stash, some ribbon, some enamel dots as well. That was in my stash. And then when you open it, this is how it looks on the inside. With those accordion pockets, I used some of the cut apart pieces, Life is Beautiful, Create and Inspire. And then I used, of course, that same shimmery paper to create the pull tabs on each one of these items that you can pull out of the pockets. And then I also created the tag here and used the tulle as the ribbon on the tag, just like in the previous project. So I'm really surprised and happy with myself that I was able to accept this challenge and use this paper that I wouldn't normally know how to use. And I'm really very happy with the colorfulness, the color scheme of it. Even on the side, you can see all the colors there, and I think that's really cute, really attractive. Use this on the back and then this one on the spine too. So I hope you enjoyed this brief video. I hope it inspired you to want to create something like this. I think it's a really cool, simple project that you can do with some accordion pockets, something different that you can do with your paper. And again, I appreciate you all sticking with me, supporting my channel. I appreciate all the comments and the encouragement, and I greatly look forward to crafting with you very soon. Until then, take care. Bye.